is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you are listening to the Give Us a Shot Network. So make sure you give us a like, give us a follow if you haven't already. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I feel like it's been a long week. It's been a long week, and it's only Wednesday, but we're at that halfway point to where I don't have to care as much as I did a couple of days ago. We got a lot of things going on right now. Obviously, there's a lot of news circulating around the Chicago Bears. It's Packer week, so I had to pull out the Green Bay Sucks hat. It's the best hat I think I've ever acquired in my entire life. It's actually not even my hat. I think it was my OG's hat. But you are listening to the Shy Kid podcast presented by iHeartRadio's very own Give Us a Shot Network. Like I said earlier before, make sure you give us a like, a follow if you haven't already. We are live right now on TikTok as well. So make sure you check in on the TikTok account. We hit 160,000 followers. Damn! We're doing it, man. We're doing it. We're having a lot of fun despite the Chicago Bears being the reason I hate waking up on Sundays. But with that being said, man, let's get into it because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got a lot of stuff going on. Tuesday rolls around. I'm ready to go. We're going to the Chicago Sky press conference to meet the new head coach of the Chicago Sky, Tyler Marsh. Neither here nor there. But I'm getting ready for that. And I get the notification. The Chicago Bears have fired Shane Waldron. Now, why this happened on a Tuesday and not a Monday, I think it was because of the backlash that was given by the media and by Bears fans everywhere to Matt Eberflus on Monday when he said we're still going through the process. I don't know why this took as long as it did. I don't know what needed to be done on Monday that wasn't already done over the weekend and over the course of the last 6-7 weeks. Like, it shouldn't have took as long as it did. That's point blank period. When you lose that game on Sunday against the New England Patriots, only putting up 3 stinking points against one of the worst teams in football. But I guess since you got beat by them, now we're one of the worst teams in football. You go into that knowing if we lose this game in that fashion, Shane's gone. Pack your bags. Bon voyage. You don't got to go home, but you can't stay here. Type shit. Like that's really what it is at the end of the day. So I don't know why it took until Tuesday, especially on Packer week. Like, you're trying to get everything going, you're trying to coordinate everything, really trying to get an identity flowing for this offense, and you still have your offensive coordinator who you're going to fire in a day's time in the building. It's just a bad look. It's just a bad look all around. We got some more breaking news earlier today. The Chicago Bears have dumped the contract of Nate Davis. They will be paying off Nate Davis for the remainder of the 2025 season and the 2024 season. They told him, you know what, man, again, you don't got to go home, but you can't stay here. You don't want to play football for us. You don't want to be available. You don't want to be a mentor to these other young offensive linemen. Just get out of here. And we're going to get into that a little bit later, but it's definitely disappointing. I think for any Bears fan that's in the chat right now or watching this, I think we can all agree the signing of Nate Davis was actually very exciting. I thought it was a veteran presence that this team desperately needed at the time. He's coming from the Mike Vrabel organization, so I'm excited to see what he was going to be able to bring. And he just didn't bring it and didn't really even show up for the majority of it either. Like, this man, not only was he not playing games, but there were a lot of times he wasn't even showing up to training camp. So, good riddance. If you don't want to be here, that's fine. No one's begging you to. But you signed a contract to morally be obligated to this organization, and I think it's pretty shitty that he did not see that through. But with that being said, our final topic of the day will be Caleb Williams potentially getting benched at some point this season. Matt Eberflus said he's the guy moving forward, but there are other veterans in the room that say that Caleb Williams should be benched. What do we think about that? Do the veterans have a case to be made? Is that inappropriate? And more importantly, what veterans? That's my big question. Like, secretly, veterans are asking for Caleb Williams to be benched. If it's Keenan Allen, I'm secretly asking Keenan Allen to catch the damn ball. You know what I mean? If it's anybody on that offensive line, if it's Sheldon asking this, get on, bro. Get on. And if it's someone like DJ Moore, that's a different conversation for a different day. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm curious to see what veterans were actually asking for Caleb Williams to be benched in favor of Tyson Bagent, who we know last year won 2 games for the Bears in Justin Fields' absence, went 2-2 as a starter. Not bad whatsoever. He also had a pretty solid preseason. The fans ain't shit. Bears fans ain't shit because I made a video, a highlight montage, the best backup quarterback in the league, Tyson Bagent, and it only had, I made this video probably back in like July, early August, late July, early August, and it only had like 5,000 views. This week, it has over 150,000 views. So first, thank you guys for blowing that up. But second, you guys are bogus. You guys are bogus because I know why it's blowing up. It's because everyone wants Caleb to be benched. But it's pretty funny. Um, it's pretty funny, man. But yeah, man. So there's some rumors floating around that it was Cole Kmet and DJ Moore that have expressed that they might want Caleb Williams to be benched. Now, I'm not I'm not certain on that. I'm reading the chat and I could see a couple people expressing that. I haven't heard that vocally. I could look it up as we're live right now. Um but I think that's that's crazy if it does come from them, because if it comes from them, you kind of do have to take that a little bit more seriously. Because it's not like a guy who's not valid. You know what I mean? It's not a guy who's not been asked to do the most for this organization. Like Cole Kmet and DJ Moore have been huge for this organization moving forward. Let's see. I'm looking it up right now. DJ Moore speaks out. Uh yeah, I haven't seen anything to say that it's exactly them. Um, is any let me Before we continue with the show, does anybody know exactly where that's coming from, or where? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't believe. I mean, not that I don't believe it was them, but I haven't heard that. Um, I'm not defending Caleb. I'm just saying I didn't hear that it was Cole and DJ. So if that's true, yeah, not official, just rumors. Yeah, I don't think. I don't know. Cause I listen to DJ Moore, not DJ Moore. I listen to Cole Kmet in his podcast, and I don't think he would vocally say something like that. Um, DJ, I could kind of get behind that, just because we've seen how, based off of his facial expressions and how he is on the sideline, it could definitely be legitimate. But man, let's get into it. Let's have a conversation though. We have to talk about the situation right now with Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron gets fired on a Tuesday. You really don't know what's going to happen for the Chicago Bears offense moving forward, because Thomas Brown, the passing game coordinator for the Chicago Bears, is now taking over as offensive coordinator. Now, he does have a pretty solid career thus far, but this is a very tall order, especially with the number one overall pick and the development of the said number one overall pick kind of being in his hands the remainder of his rookie season. Let's get into it. As a player, man, he's from the Atlanta Falcons, 6th-round draft pick, picked 172nd overall. A Georgia boy, went to college in Georgia from 2004 to 2007. As a player, he played for the Falcons in 2008, the Cleveland Browns from 2009 to 2010. As a coach, he coached back at Georgia, strength and conditioning coach in 2011. Then he kind of went all over the place, running backs coach, a bunch of other different places, Miami, South Carolina, up until 2020, where he gets a job with the Los Angeles Rams as the running backs coach. 2021, he is the assistant head coach and running backs coach. 2022, assistant head coach and tight ends coach. He obviously comes from the Sean McVay tree. We're not saying he's a genius out here, but we're definitely saying he has championship pedigree. He's been a part of a winning organization. He wins a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams. Was that 2020, 2021? Joins the Carolina Panthers in 2023, the offensive coordinator for them in 2023 with Bryce Young. Wasn't great, but neither was anything around them or circulated with the Carolina Panthers. 2024, passing game coordinator for the Chicago Bears, now presently the offensive coordinator. So what do we see? What do we think for Thomas Brown? Listen, here's the thing. It's it's a tough situation to be in, one, but two, if you're Matt Eberflus and you tell me that you just fired your offensive coordinator and you replaced him with the guy who is running the offense of the worst offense in the NFL in 2023, I mean, it's not better. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a better situation. So, like, it's definitely tough. I'm not going to sit here today and say that we're going to have better success than we did with Shane Waldron, but I'll say this. If by any way, shape, or form Thomas Brown can get these wide receivers in position to run the routes that they should be running, I think that's better than nothing. You know what I mean? Even if we're not scoring touchdowns, as long as Rome Odunze is taking deep shots, as long as Keenan Allen's actually being put in position to be a route runner more than just a guy who's running a 5 and in, DJ Moore running a route that's more than 15 yards. You know what I mean? Like those are the things that are going to be important. Cole Kmet being a part of the offense at all, very important stuff. Very important stuff, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Because I think the way this offense looked over the last 6 weeks, you would think that we just didn't have any weapons. We have arguably a top 5 wide receiver trio in all of football. It just hasn't looked like that because they're not being put in position to have success. Whether that's on Caleb Williams or Shane Waldron or not, that's just the reality of the situation. You have a top 5 tight end who 1 week looks like the best tight end in the NFL, and then the next 3 weeks gets 2 receptions. You know what I mean? And 2 targets. So, it's definitely something I want to see changed. Bringing in Thomas Brown, I'm not sure if there's going to be an immediate change or an immediate flip of the switch for this offense. But if you could see small strides of moving forward, I think that's what's important. Okay, maybe we're not great, but DJ's getting the ball. Maybe we're not great, but Cole Kmet's a part of this offense. And I think that's some of the more important stuff right there, more than just screen pass, dump it off to Swift, punt the ball. It's Tory Taylor. That's our 4th play of every drive, Tory Taylor. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, he's worked with Sean McVay in the past. Last season, kind of a wash. The Bryce Young era wasn't off to a great start. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Thomas Brown could impact this Bears offense more than a lot of people think he can. I'm not insanely optimistic, but I'm also not sitting here right now saying we're in a worse situation than we were with Shane Waldron. The guy's smiling when you only put up 3 points in a game, hasn't scored a touchdown in 3 weeks. But yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now. Now, let's get into the next conversation. Because the next conversation, and we're going to talk about Caleb potentially getting benched in just a few minutes, but today the Chicago Bears let go of Nate Davis. And even though he is only a year and a half into a 3-year, $30 million deal, I couldn't be more happy. I would help contribute to paying him off to just leave on my own. Like, I really would. Whatever you need. Whether it's $5, $10, $20, whatever you need, man. Just let me know, Ryan Poles. Like, it's cool with me. I'll contribute any way I can. Because when we look back on the Nate Davis era, I think it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing because this was a young Bears offensive line with Tevin Jenkins, Braxton Jones, and Darnell Wright that I thought was going to be able to have so much success with a veteran presence like Nate Davis. What he was able to do in Tennessee doesn't get overlooked. I exactly remember that he was a solid offensive guard for the Tennessee Titans. And this was somebody that I think, moving into the future, could definitely be somebody that can be a mentor, be a leader on that offensive line. And that's something that I think just doesn't get talked about enough, is how he immediately comes to the Bears organization. Now, 2023, he misses the beginning of OTAs and training camp because of a death in the family or something that happened. And again, I'll say this every time we talk about it. I will never take anything away from somebody who has something going on in their personal life. Whether that's child, whether that's mother or father, or something just going on financially. I don't know what the case may be, but you always have to give someone the benefit of the doubt. We're all human. We all go through things. Nobody's perfect, and just things happen. Shit happens. Life gets real fast. And at the end of the day, this is just a kid's game. So it's definitely understandable. But what I will say is this: something that frustrates the hell out of me is that not only continues throughout the season. One, the best abilities, availability, he's never available, whether he's injured or he just doesn't want to be there. Or two, it goes into the 2024 season. He's not there at the beginning of training camp. He's not there during OTAs. I don't even think they showed him in Hard Knocks once, so, and then he starts the year, I'm injured. But then, when Braxton Jones goes down or Darnell Wright goes down or something along those lines, he comes in the middle of the game to fill in. So are you injured or not? You know what I mean? Coleman Shelton goes down. Oh, okay, cool. We'll just fill in with Nate Davis. But he was on the injury report and said that he was inactive because he's injured. So is he injured or is he not? Because how are you starting the game inactive and then you come in the middle of it because, yeah, you're healthy enough to go? You know what I mean? And then you're there and you're just a complete liability to the team. Nate Davis was one of the biggest liabilities I've seen on the Bears offensive line since Sam Mustipher. Like, that's real shit, because it's like, I would see Darnell Wright's struggles. A lot of people have talked about how he hasn't been able to live up to who he was in his rookie year. But if you look on the film and you really watch how his mindset changes when someone like Nate Davis is paired up next to him, it definitely does, because I think he immediately understands. He goes from guarding one guy to guarding two because Nate's not doing his job. So every time Nate Davis was in the game, you basically have 4-on-5 every single time. You know what I mean? Like, they could rush the whole house and it doesn't change anything. You could have Cole Kmet and DeAndre Swift helping the block. Doesn't change anything because one of your guards is just standing there or falling over or bullshitting. So good riddance. Good riddance to Nate Davis. Do not care whatsoever. I will not be impacted by the loss of Nate Davis, and I don't think you should be either. But I definitely do think it makes Ryan Poles' job a hell of a lot more urgent, because one of your biggest offensive lineman signings of your Bears tenured as a general manager, did not finish out his contract, and you have to still pay him for the next year and a half. But with that being said, we're going to talk about something right now. Now, there are no sources to who said this at this point in time. There's rumors or speculations, but again, rumors are just speculations. So we're not going to sit here today and point fingers at anybody. But according to multiple sources, multiple veterans in the Bears locker room believe Caleb Williams should be benched. Now, this is not for the long term. This is not for the rest of his career. This is not a Trey Lance, Brock Purdy situation. But many veterans believe that Tyson Bagent should be starting this week against the Packers. It's a tricky conversation. It's a tricky conversation, especially when you look at Caleb Williams' stats this year. You look at this offense as a whole, and I don't think you can find one positive thing. Right now, the Bears in passing yards are ranked 30th. 169.6 points per game. Rushing yards, they're averaging about 108 yards per game, 24th in the league, 31 total yards, or 31st in total yards per game. So right now, passing yards, we're ranked 30th, rushing yards, we're ranked 24th, and then total yards per game, we're ranked 31st. Not great whatsoever. Leading the Bears in receptions and receiving yards is Rome Odunze with 414. Rushing yards is DeAndre Swift with 564, and Caleb Williams with 1,785 passing yards. Now, from another perspective, you look at his QBR. His QBR is a 38.4. His completion is a 60.5. 9 touchdowns on the year. I believe he has 5 interceptions, if I'm not mistaken. It's definitely not good. It's not good whatsoever. So, a lot of veterans probably feel at this point in the year, let the kid learn. We saw that with Bryce Young at the beginning of this year, and it was actually very productive for Bryce. We saw a guy who actually has gotten better and more confident, and I would honestly just outright say happier since coming back from being benched. This is a guy who kind of just got thrown into the fire, just like Caleb Williams, but it was a little different. Bryce really had no help whatsoever. Excuse me. But I think for me, benching Caleb Williams on Packers week is downright awful for this organization and the fan base. Like, I can understand where a couple veterans are like, hey, listen, Tyson Bagent hasn't gotten any tick this year. He was great during the preseason. He was solid last year, went 2-2, won 2 games for the Bears in Justin Fields' absence. We should definitely give him an opportunity. And where I do think at some point this year you're going to have that conversation, I don't think it's on Packers week. And I don't think it's morally good for Caleb Williams and this locker room to bench him in his first division game in the NFC North. It's just my personal opinion. If we get smoked by the Green Bay Packers and you want to tell me that we're benching Caleb Williams the rest of the way, so he could sit and learn and just kind of be himself without any pressure, I could definitely get behind that. But I'll also say the same thing, where it's, the best way to learn is to go out there and do it. And I think that's something where a lot of people feel indifferent. I know Tom Brady's kind of like a part of it, where it's like, I can't sit and learn if I'm just thrown into the fire right away. And a lot of guys back in the day, got those opportunities to sit behind somebody and really just become the best version of themselves before heading out there. And nowadays, you're just throwing guys into the fire 24/7. A C.J. Stroud, a Caleb Williams, a Jaden Daniels, a Bo Nix. We're Drake May, who kind of missed the beginning of the year, but now he's starting. We've seen the Bears do it time and time again. Mitch Trubisky started after a few games of Mike Glennon. Andy Dalton played a game and a half before Justin Fields, finally came in. Um, but yeah, I think it's the bad call. I don't see the Bears benching Caleb Williams this week. Like I said, it's Packer week. It's his first divisional matchup, and it's the biggest rivalry in all of football. And I think it's going to be one of those games where it's like Jordan Love versus Caleb Williams. This is the future versus the future. And for you to bench him and pull Tyson Bagent out, I think fans everywhere would be pissed off. But I also see the other side of the coin. You don't want to mold him into being a bust. You want him to be, the future of the Chicago Bears organization. And if him sitting down for a little while to kind of, you know, get his confidence back and just become the best version of himself again, I definitely do think that is in the cards. I just think doing it on Packers week definitely does send a bad message, especially after bringing down Shane Waldron. You're kind of making it sound like, it was Shane and Caleb. If Caleb continues to struggle with Thomas Brown as OC, I definitely do think there's a conversation where, you're 4-5, potentially 4-6 at the end of this week. You have the toughest remaining schedule in the entire NFL. At some point, I think you kind of just realize this season's lost. We're not going to have Caleb Williams tear his ACL or get a concussion or something along those lines when, you're 4-11 at this point. You know what I mean? So like I think at some point you do bench Caleb Williams, but I think for me it would be closer to the last 4 games of the year. And we're creeping up on it. You know what I mean? This is week 11. So, it's definitely coming to that point where, decisions have to be made. But Tyson Bagent, Tyson Bagent is one of those guys to me. I truly believe he is one of the better backups in the entire league. I've always kind of said that. I'm shout out to y'all for making that video I made of him go viral, 150,000 views this week. Um, Tyson Bagent with this Bears offense is very interesting. He's a little bit more mobile, I would say, than Caleb Williams. Not as athletic, obviously, all around, but a little more mobile, a little more versatile. Definitely somebody that can scramble a little bit more, and that might be better for this offensive line. But I think, like, let's be so real. Nobody's sitting here today saying that Caleb Williams is going to be benched for the rest of his career. Nobody's saying that. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't a Brock Purdy, Trey Lance situation where Tyson Bagent is about to become the franchise quarterback of the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams will just become an afterthought of a has-been. You know what I mean? Or it never was. But I definitely do think it's possible at some point the remainder of the season, Tyson Bagent is QB1. And like I said earlier, I think it really just comes down to, you don't want Caleb Williams to blow out his knee or get a major injury when your team is 4-11. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense from a front office standpoint. But to do it right now, the week of the Packers, in their first matchup ever, I just think it's the wrong time. You know what I mean? I think it's the wrong time. I don't think this is good for the organization moving forward. Excuse me. And that's just really where I'm at. That's just really where I'm at with it. I definitely think it's possible. I think it's very unfortunate that, most of us thought the Bears were going to win 10 to 12 games this year. And for us to be here at week 11 talking about Caleb Williams potentially getting benched, it's crazy. You know what I mean? But here's what I'll also say. This is why I've said from the beginning, the Chicago Bears should have signed Ryan Tannehill or some type of veteran presence, whether that's Cam Newton, Ryan Tannehill, Ryan Fitzpatrick, somebody to be a mentor to Caleb Williams. Right now, he loses his offensive coordinator. His head coach doesn't know his foot from his elbow. The new offensive coordinator was on the worst offense in 2023. If you had somebody like Ryan or somebody like Cam or somebody along those lines, to just be a mentor to him, to help him. Hey man, look, like I understand things are going bad, but this is how you respond. This is how, you bounce back week in and week out. You got some people in the chat right now saying he doesn't need a mentor. I completely disagree because I don't believe Matt Eberflus can really teach Caleb Williams anything about being a quarterback in the NFL when all he knows about is being a defensive-minded head coach. Shane Waldron obviously didn't know what he was doing. He did more harm than good for Caleb. And Thomas Brown, who was a running backs coach and a tight ends coach for the Los Angeles Rams, what do you really know about being a mentor to a young quarterback? You know what I mean? And that's where I feel like the Bears really didn't do him a service. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. Who's commenting right now? Chip? Yeah, Chip says you probably liked the Waldron hire. I did. I did because well, here's the thing. I was pissed because Matt Eberflus was still here. I was in the party of I wanted Jim Harbaugh or Ben Johnson. But out of all the offensive coordinators that were available, and I'm talking legitimate offensive coordinators, not offensive coordinators like Ben Johnson, who were going to either stay in Detroit or get a head coaching job. Like, obviously, you were getting somebody who was still an OC. There were conversations about the Ravens OC that they currently have. That's a totally different offense. And then you have a situation where it's like, okay, you have a guy in Shane Waldron who had success with Geno Smith in 2023. He gets all the credit. He had a wide receiver trio of DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith-Njigba, who we all know how JSN felt about Shane Waldron after that one interview. But it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that Shane didn't work out. I think all of the accolades that he had in his career indicated to you that he was qualified for this job. Sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. And sometimes it might not even be Shane's fault. Shane might get a job somewhere else and do extremely well. You know what I mean? It could just be this Bears offensive line hindered what he wanted to do. But history's past will show, if you look at Jackson Smith-Njigba's route running in 2023 versus 2024, it's completely different. And DJ Moore's route running in 2023 and 2024 is completely different. So I think he really doesn't know how to utilize wide receivers to the best of their ability. You know what I mean? Like, DJ Moore is big. He's fast. He's somebody that you can get down the line quick. Rome Odunze is a big body, speedy guy. Excuse me. Keenan Allen. Keenan's got his own stuff going on this year with all the drops, but I mean, Keenan's been running 5-and-ins and 5-yard curl routes like this entire season. So like, that's frustrating as well. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know at all. The Shane Waldron hire, I was high on it. I thought it could buy Flus sometime. And unfortunately it didn't. But, we'll see what happens. We're going to stay live on the TikTok, so don't go anywhere. But we're going to get out of here right now. That's all our news for today. We're going to keep you up to date with everything Chicago Bears related content. Make sure you give us a like, give us a follow if you haven't already. Check us out at the Give Us a Shot Network. Give us some love. Until then, I am Mike Hughes, a.k.a. The Shy Kid. Make sure you hit that follow button. Till then, bear down.
Give them a shot to do what?